Hello. I'm here to talk about the City Council's treatment of the homeless population of Santa Rosa. I have here a bottle. This represents a bottle of urine, as one might produce in a day or two of good hydration, being homeless, especially if one needs to go during the nighttime when there are no public bathrooms open or very few and difficult to find. Now, the City Council recently, approved a plan to remake it a misdemeanor, what they call quality of life ordinances, which is really quality of rich people's lives, which makes it easier for cops to harass homeless people for existing, for being, for sleeping, for fulfilling their body's needs and functions when there aren't facilities available for them to do so. We have called this out for what it is, which is criminalization of poverty. And our great mayor, Chris Corsi, has told us that we are being hyperbolic. This is not okay. And in addition to that, many of us are aware of what was done at Homeless Hill, and it is being lauded as a great success. It was not a great success. It was not housing first, because pretty much none of those people got proper housing. Many of them are in shelters, many of them are in services. They did not get housing first. And now they're going to do it again under the 101 underpass, and you keep using phrases like clearing out and cleaning out like these people are pieces of trash. They are human beings. And this is not done voluntarily, this is not offering services, this is not offering housing, this is forcibly removing people, and if they do not cooperate, they are arrested. We know there weren't arrests at Homeless Hill because people knew they had no choice. We know whose council this is. They show us repeatedly, again and again, that they listen to the Santa Rosa Chamber of Commerce, who hates poor people, and cares only about their own business and their money. They do not care about the well-being of the majority of the people of this city, and we are sick of it. And there's only so far you can push us. You may think you can push us as far as you want, because people will put up with so much, and they are. They are putting up with so much. But at a certain point, people will start to push back. And I would hope your consciences catch up with you before then. Thank you.
Alex Dudley, followed by Emily Winfield.
Hello, my name is Alex Dudley. I am a member of the North Bay chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I am here to comment on the City Council's treatment of people who are experiencing homelessness. And I'm going to start with some national news. Cities like Detroit, Salt Lake City, Santa Cruz, and San Diego are dealing with outbreaks of hepatitis A, a disease which is spread by fecal contamination. The San Diego outbreak has killed 16 and sickened 421. These hepatitis A outbreaks are directly related to a lack of 24/7 public bathrooms and places where people who are experiencing homelessness can wash or shower, like in Santa Rosa. When the encampment on Homeless Hill was cleared, there were 50 new shelter beds available. Most of those beds are now filled, and there's around about a 200-person waiting list at the shelter. Meanwhile, quality of life ordinances empower police to charge homeless people with a misdemeanor for repeated offenses of public urination. This can result in a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. So people who are experiencing homelessness have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go, and when they do go, they are treated as criminals and trapped in the cycle of escalating fines and misdemeanors. People in Sonoma County who are experiencing homelessness die on average 23 years earlier than the rest of Sonoma County as a whole. We should be treating these people like the human beings that they are, and not as an eyesore to be swept away.
Hello, my name is Michael Tatone. And I am also here to talk about the need for public restrooms open 24/7 in Santa Rosa. I too am up here with a bottle that represents my pee. It's not real pee, don't worry, it's fake. But the reason I'm standing up here is to advocate for bathrooms that are open 24/7 for public use. You might think that bottles of fake pee don't really belong in City Council. And that's because this is a space where we make laws that regulate people's their urinary acts, but we don't necessarily have to look at all of the consequences of those laws. And I also have, it comes from, we have a certain privilege being in this room. And I also have a privilege because my bodily functions aren't regulated. But that's not the case if you're homeless. For the homeless, going to the bathroom is a public affair. We regulate their use of the bathroom along with panhandling and sleeping and other things that they absolutely need in order to survive. So I want to make this a public affair and make it visible because I think that we need to know what that is like. But again, I just want to emphasize that we do need public restrooms in order to address this problem. Recently, you decided to support greater criminalization of public urination, raising the maximum charge from an infraction to a misdemeanor, which can result in a $1,000 fine and jail time. And when you don't have access to public restrooms in Santa Rosa that are open 24/7, this does amount to criminalization of homelessness. Santa Rosa has the power to arrest someone for what they do. Whether or not they use that discretion, they have the power to do that. And some people, we may have reason to trust the police. Some people in this community don't. Some people in this room don't. So I think we need to be sensitive to that. Homeless people can accumulate fines, jail time, and a greater criminal record as a result, which can damage their chances of succeeding in the future and getting out of their situation. I also agree with Councilwoman Combs that the pilot program is not housing first. It's eviction first and possibly housing second. The main thing that we're doing is clearing out these areas from homeless people, and we're going to do our best to get them housing. But the primary purpose is a homeless encampment cleanup, and that needs to be recognized. I believe that we need a city-sanctioned homeless encampment, and public bathrooms open 24/7 at that encampment would reduce and manage the space that we would need to put public restrooms. Thank you.
Hello again, Adrienne Lobby from Homeless Action. Let's do this up here. We do now have a two-tier system of human beings in Santa Rosa. We have people who can use the bathroom, go into a store, use the bathroom. We have people who can't. We have people who can use the park, take their dogs out, sit around on the grass, and we have people who can't. There are numerous other ways that we have a two-tiered system, but what we have before us now is the next iteration of the pilot project to clear out the encampments. So we have a plan to clear out the encampment under 101 freeway. We did this with Homeless Hill with 50 beds at the shelter. We have some number of beds left, maybe somewhere between 10 and 20. The shelter is now in chaos. It had as many as 12 dogs in it from one report. It has to adjust to all these new rules. You all, and I'm not criticizing Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities and you all have adopted this housing first philosophy. You're attempting to see if it works. And this is what we can expect. It's a transition period. And it's really tough on the people who've been staying at the shelter before this happened. It's really tough on the new people who were living up on Homeless Hill and are now down here in a new situation. And of course, it's really, really tough on the people who were up at Homeless Hill who are now living, at least one of them, in a storage unit. If we're going to attempt to clear out 101, where are these people going to go? They're not going to fit into the shelter. And we have no proof. For those of you who keep asking for evidentiary and, let's see what really works, the best practices, we're not even going to get a preliminary report till January for what happened with our attempt to clear out Homeless Hill. So now we've got 20 to 50 people more that we're going to move along. They will go to Doyle Park. They will go to Railroad Square. We're going to hear more and more neighborhood complaints. And so you're really between a rock and a hard place. You have a plan, sort of, but it's not working. It's not really effective for what you want to do. You've promised the neighbors that you're going to do these things. It's not going to work. And you have really the burden of the human suffering. People are getting arrested and cited in Doyle Park for laying on a sleeping bag. Not asleep, reading a book. We need encampments. We need sanctioned encampments, and we need a bunch of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levy. Carol Cranston. Is Carol Cranston here? Courtney Cox.
Hello, my name is Courtney Cox. I was here like in the spring, but then I just saw a lot of the national scene replaying itself in our local community, and it was really distressing. I then had a meeting with Tom, and it was so disheartening. It sent me into like a 4-month depression, and I'm just now coming out of it. So I'm here again. Hopefully I could stick around. But the reason I'm speaking today is for those who are really the most exposed in our community. They are vulnerable. The Housing First pilot program is state-sanctioned violence and terror to identify camps and plan raids and evictions without a clear plan of where these people are going to go for the long term is just really cruel and inhumane. It's really disgusting. The increased police engagement, as it said in the host report that the meeting is going to come out, it's not engagement, it's intimidation, it's fear, it's harassment, it's a violation of their human rights and liberties. This crackdown on the most exposed members is definitely it's violating their rights by like illegal searches and seizures of persons and their belongings, the ticketing and fines where people are accumulating criminal records and they're going to jail. It's just an endless loop. I see this just being a person of color, that you can't give anybody a reason. Don't give anybody a reason, because as soon as you get in the system, you're never going to get out. That's why I don't live in Chattanooga, Tennessee anymore, because it's a system that they put you in and you can't do anything wrong ever, because it's an endless loop. It's a vicious cycle on purpose. And that's what you're creating here. With this program, you're creating, perpetuating, and it's state sanctioned. You're agreeing to this. You're saying that this is the right thing, this is a victory. This is a vicious cycle that you're creating to hurt people, to take away their opportunity, to take away their lives. You're perpetuating that. And then you're saying that's a victory. It's disgusting. And what happens, like we're hearing, when the beds are full, the vouchers run out, everyone has misdemeanors, and they're in jail, and they're out being moved along, violently, ticketed and harassed, terrorized by police who are being more and more militarized. We are all guests. We are all guests in this home. This land doesn't belong to us. It belongs to those who are indigenous, the Pomo people. We're all guests. And I don't know what you think that you have, a piece of paper that separates you from those in the streets, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And it doesn't mean anything to the people who are out there on the streets. We're all guests, and we have to respect this land. We have to honor this land. And it's not yours. It's not mine. We are guests.
Thank you. Your time is up. Merlin.
We have got a humanitarian crisis here. 2,000-3,000 people more in Sonoma County alone don't have a place to sleep, don't have a place to eat safely, don't have a place to spend with their families safely, don't have a place to go to the bathroom safely. I'm here to talk about Doyle Park. I wish my house bordered on Doyle Park so that I could keep a watch on whether you're allowing one of the few public spaces that we have to afford a little bit of safety to the people who need it, or whether you're enforcing draconian ordinances to punish them further for their suffering. Where's the agenda item tonight? Addressing homelessness. We are in a state of emergency here. There are people suffering more than any of you would even know. We're in a state of emergency. Where's the agenda item? You should be addressing this every single week until it's dealt with. You should be using your imaginations. You should not be trying to shove it under the rug and ignore it. You should be doing whatever it takes. Our friends, our community members, our family are suffering. Where's the heart? How much of this are you spending on businesses who like to make a little more profit? Week after week after week after week. You could at least keep this bathroom out here open 24/7, right out here. You've got a public bathroom for when people need to come and use this building during the day. You could at least keep it open overnight. What's the harm? Have to be cleaned a little bit more? I'm sure you have the imagination to deal with that. You could be rezoning things so that we can use them for good humanitarian purposes, not for business. You could be providing free services that could be used to help people who are really in need and suffering all the time, instead of to make a little more profit for businesses. Subsidies for those who want to make more on the backs of those who are hurting. Use some imagination. Stay on the ball. Priorities. Suffering comes before profit. Come on, guys and girls, and everyone.
Thomas Ells.
Public comment on non-agenda items? Great. I was just outside, thank you. I missed the earlier time. Unfortunately, the woman who said, I'm so glad you could allow everyone to talk at that time. No, some people were not allowed to talk at that time. I just wanted to mention that Anaheim, there was a big article on Anaheim and, the homeless situation along the Santa Ana River there. And it's right near, well, it's in Imagination Town, Disneyville, or should I say ABC Cap Cities and whatnot, who basically control the whole place, and the Mighty Ducks. It's right along there. There's a ton of homeless. There's thousands of them. And are these growing? I don't know what's happening here. They don't look good. So there was a really big article, and they also have a hepatitis outbreak. And it's really big, and it's really bad. It could be a public health nightmare, and it's really important to get ahead of those things. Anybody could come into town from there, breeze through. There's thousands and thousands of people who are not homeless here. They're homeless somewhere else, and they come through here every day. There's I don't know how many. Well, how many a day, 900 a day, but over 365 days a year, it adds up to literally tens of thousands of people. So anybody that comes up here from there can be bringing that and deposit that with us. So it's really significant. And what's happening there, though, in Anaheim is they're not allowed to close the camp because of Jones versus City of Los Angeles. And they're making sure that they have places for those people to go before fully. They cannot say, oh, this group of people, whoever they are going to be allowed to have housing, and we're going to prosecute or persecute them, and they got to clean up this part, and they get to go to housing or not, and we're not going to prosecute these people. They have to have housing for all of them. And that's really what we need to do here, is make sure that we have housing for all of the people, because you cannot prosecute. And as I said, there's a woman with 3 children in a car that's no longer their car because they had to rent a car. There are people all over. We don't have safe parking. We don't have safe camping. We don't have. We really have an ineffective CHAP program. We don't, and an ineffective safe parking. There is some safe parking, but I think there's about 20 cars, or a little more than 20 cars right now. There's hundreds of cars all around, and we need to consider Jones versus City of Los Angeles, and we need to come together on all that on a bigger program, a wider program. Thank you.
Annette Pearson. Is Annette here?
So I'm here to talk about the issue of where people can go to the bathroom also. And I'm just going to hit a couple of really high points. Per the census that was done last year, the homeless census, about 2,900 people, homeless people in Sonoma County. About 2,000 of them are unsheltered. That means they don't have any place. They don't have any place to go to the bathroom.
Please speak into the microphone so people can hear.
Okay. They don't have any place to go to the bathroom. So figure 2,000 people a day that don't have any place to go to the bathroom. The average person urinates between a quart and half a gallon of urine per day. So the math's pretty simple. We're looking at about 800 gallons of urine a day. The average person defecates between 3/4 of a pound and a pound of solid waste per day. So again, pretty easy math. You're looking at about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of solid waste per day. People don't have a place to go to the bathroom. So a lot of people have talked about a lot of things here tonight that really need to be addressed. There need to be permanent encampments. But right now, it would be very, very, very simple to put some porta potties in some of the areas where we know folks are staying. It's just not that hard, and it's not that expensive. There's a lot of urine out there, and there's a lot of fecal matter out there, and it's a public health concern. And if for no other reason, we ought to be addressing it for that reason. That's what I have to say.